So continuing on the remote work and working from office, right, and language issues when you actually have remote work, especially when you're trying to work for like a company that is global, or even if it's an Indian company, there are so many languages within India. I mean, it's unlike say the US and other countries where the whole country has a single language and many dialects of the language, but then has only a single language. And a lot of countries, they use the language for the medium of learning itself. In India, a lot of times the medium of learning is usually English in the urban cities. There are of course different medium of languages, like for example my native is Tamil, and there are schools that teach in Tamil as the medium of learning, with Tamil as the medium of learning language, right? So they call it as Tamil medium to say that Tamil is the medium of learning, right? So you see the books written in Tamil, even English. I mean, even say science textbook is written in Tamil, right? So any book or anything, any content is in Tamil, right? So versus I studied in a like in English, which is not my native language, and that is like not the language that I grew up learning, speaking, right? I instead learned English actually in school, right? So versus in other countries, a lot of people learn the language, what people call it as mother tongue, basically the native language. They are native speakers. Let's say if it's Brazil, Portuguese is their native language, right? And people learn with Portuguese as their medium of learning, right? So versus in India, a lot of urban cities, most urban cities, I think they'll always have all the urban schools will have English as the medium of language, medium of learning, and as the language for the medium of learning, and every textbook is actually written in English, and every content is in English, right? In fact, a lot of Indian schools actually enforce and ensure that students know and learn English and talk in English and understand English really well. One good thing about this is, well, a lot of people in India can actually work globally because they know English to a good extent, if not a great extent, right? So also like I said, in general, people when it comes to remote work and whatnot, people are not well versed in good communication in general, right? Even if they're talking in their native language. So imagine that, right? And then now you're actually asking people to use a different language, let's say English or whatever, right? People even have to learn, say, German and whatnot, or Japanese. If they sometimes go to say in Germany, if you go, you'll probably have to learn a bit of German. If you go to Japan, you'll probably have to learn a bit of Japanese. I think it's even mandated. I'm not sure though. So imagine that like someone can't communicate what they want to communicate very well in their own native language. They are not well versed in their own native language, or they are not well versed in communicating what they want to communicate in their own native language. Then we are talking about native language. Then imagine that like people find it hard to type things out, but they probably find it easier to talk things out, right? That's also possible. So also popularly in remote work, you have documentation. It's all usually written than recorded. Like you don't usually see a lot of some videos and whatnot. You usually actually read documents and forms and whatnot. Though there is videos also these days for onboarding employees. So there's usually documentation, written documentation, and then that is than recording audio or video. So when it's written communication, things can get tricky because a lot of people find it easier to talk things out or listen things out, but they find it hard to actually write and type things out or read things out, right? So we need to understand how people work, as in like how people think, how people are wired, how the human brain works, how their brain works in general. Like everyone's brain works in a different way, though the concepts of the brain are same, of course, biologically. So how people are mere humans, and there's a lot of biology and science in play, of course, psychology, etc. And a lot of people are used to socializing in person, right? I guess. So at least till now that has been the case, right? Some people may find it that it's nice to have close connections with people at work, right? So versus with like have close connections, form close friends at work, and even form close friends for even life. For example, say Even you leave the workplace, you still are friends with them, for life. Heck, some people even find their life partners, romantic partners at work, and their spouses at works, right? So tricky stuff. HR may roll eyes in this case, but people do find their lifetime partners, romantic partners, and spouses at work, right? A few weeks ago, one of my friends actually got married to his wife, and they both work at the same place, right? So while other people like to keep life and work separately, some people will like to actually will like or be okay with life and work being a bit entangled, like say having friends at work, having say for example finding partners at work, having close friends, having very close people at work. Versus some people will be like, I just want it to be different. I don't want my life and work to be entangled, right? I want to keep my professional life separate, right? And I want to have a work-life balance even in terms of the social connections I have, right? Say this person is from work, I will only be their colleague and nothing more, and things like that. Some people have that boundary and all that. Some people love to have those boundaries. Some people are like, I don't want to be so rigid and whatnot. I want to actually be friends with someone I work with, and only then I can work with them and whatnot. People have their own ideologies, values, principles, beliefs, and mindsets and whatnot, right? So, so yeah, I mean, there are other people who like to keep life and work separately versus some people who who are okay with or who like to actually entangle life and work. So, and people don't want to talk about life or anything personal at work and all. There are those kind of people also, like the people who want to keep life and work separate, right? So this is probably especially true in remote work, I guess, like, or maybe not. That is the case where in remote work people don't want to talk much about their personal life. It depends though. Depends on the person, the kind of culture the company has, and whatnot. So I'm just assuming that it's probably especially true in remote work, but it may be not. I guess it depends. Maybe not all cases, right? So it depends, of course. And but this is true in general, regardless, like in general, as in like regardless of remote work or office-based work or hybrid. Some people don't want to talk about anything personal or life related at work, right? So yeah, it all depends on people, their skills, their abilities, their thought process, and whatnot. Also, the thing about remote work is that people are like, hey, you can actually access a big talent pool because you can actually hire from anywhere, any place, anyone, right? So it really depends on the legalities of the company. Some companies can do that because they have licenses to hire people from other places and to let people work from other places and whatnot. Some people have their own services and whatnot, or contract-based services that they actually use to ensure that they can actually hire someone on a contract basis or whatever, right? And not in a basis. For example, if it's a US company, they might look for remote work, but not, for example, say in a time zone that is as far away as India, because the time zone gap is very high, and they want to actually have some overlapping time